We're going to continue our conversation with local candidates. We're going to be talking to Duval County School Board District 5 candidate, Dr. Nahshon Nicks. Hey, Dr. Nicks,
Good morning. Good morning.
good to have you here.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
So, in addition to talking to me, Dr. Nahshon Nicks will be answering your calls and questions. You can reach us at 904 549 2937. You can also email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org, or you can reach out on social media. So, District 5 represents Normandy, Murray Hill, Avondale, San Marco, Paxon, and Lackawanna. That's a huge swath of territory. It's currently represented by former council member, but Warren Jones, school board member Warren Jones, who's term limited. How do you describe this district to other people, and what about it do you feel called that you want to represent it?
I think it's a beautiful blend of what Duval is when you look at School Board District 5, which encompasses City Council District 7 and 9. And you have some of the highest of the high pertaining to socioeconomic status. And then you have those who are what you would call disadvantaged when you start talking about marginalized socioeconomic status. And where I come in is that I've been boots on the ground for a very long time. And I am elated and excited for the mandate that I feel is on my life to serve in this capacity. And before I actually filed, I did sit down with school board member Warren Jones, as well as the other candidates that are currently running for the same office.
So you are a pastor, you are a martial arts instructor. Tell us a little bit about who you are, your personality and your life.
Thank you for asking. I'm originally from Syracuse, New York. When it comes to upbringings, my biological father, who was a smart guy but didn't make smart decisions, he spent most of my youth in prison in a place called Attica. My mom experienced with drugs at a young age, and she struggled with substance abuse. The most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. My mom passed in 2020 from fentanyl.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you, thank you. And I don't share this with your listening and viewing audience for sympathy. I'm just saying that when you got the right components in place, you can conquer any trauma. You can conquer any situation. And my stepfather took our beautiful blended family from Syracuse, New York to Jacksonville in 1990. I attended Merrill Road Elementary School. I met a phenomenal teacher in fifth grade by the name of Tona Pillin, who called me in at the first of the year with my mom and said that I'm not going to pass Nahshon because if I do, I'll be doing him a disservice. He is not reading on grade level. So I broke down crying and I said, there's got to be another way. And Miss Pillin said, I can't just pass you. And I said, Miss Pillin, but you said, where there is a will, there is a way. Miss Pillin tutored me every day after school in reading until I was able to read on a sixth grade level. Fast forward, I attended Edward Waters College, now Edward Waters University. I graduated senior class president with a degree in education. I did my student teaching at SP Livingston Elementary School. You don't choose the school, you don't choose the grade, you don't choose the subject when you're a college student, but my department chair chose SP Livingston fifth grade reading for my last course in student teaching before I could actually graduate with my degree. And the irony is that you take something that you once struggled with, and now you're able to reach back and pull others forward.
It's an inspiring story. You previously ran for city council, so this is not your first rodeo, so to speak, when it comes to running for office. Your district has a lot of challenges. As you say, it runs the gamut from, very challenged. There are actually some really difficult schools in your district, including at the pretrial detention center. There's a school in your district that is at a domestic violence shelter. So kids who are in extreme situations and difficult learning environments. How do you plan to attend to the needs of those kids while also furthering the goals academically of the rest of the district?
And thank you for asking that question. And I'm going to try my best to kind of summarize this because it's kind of hard to summarize 2 decades of work in a 1-minute response. But I've worked in social services at Hollybrook Homes and Apartments. but it starts with needs assessments. And once you're able to calculate the data to be able to identify what are the immediate needs, how can I get the buy-in from the residents, how can I get the buy-in from the parents, get the buy-in from the children, where do they attend school? And I was able to track and manage that data. So these decisions that we're making, they're not just impulsive decisions or emotional responses. These are data-driven decisions. Another thing is that I worked in over 20 schools in Duval County Public Schools. I worked with some of our most severe behaviorally challenged individuals. I don't know if you know this or not, but on certain public school sites, they have what you'll call pride campuses. Those pride campuses have children that struggle with EBD and ODD, emotional behavior disorder, oppositional and defiant disorder. I was able to come in during school and teach martial arts, a curriculum that I created, SEAL team, social, emotional, and academic leadership through mentoring and martial arts to help build a high sense of awareness, a high sense of dignity, and a high sense of determination. And we were able to take children with severe emotional needs and help them go from isolation back to general studies with their peers. And we had students that were able to become honor society students. So I'm going to go back to Ms. Tona Penland. Where there's a will, there is a way.
We've got a call from Stanley downtown today. Good morning, Stanley. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Today I'm so proud to be able to talk to Nahshon Nicks. He is most qualified educator I have ever met in my life, and I have traveled the world. I support him, his ethics, his temperament, and his heart is in the right place. I support Nahshon Nicks, and if I had $1 million, I would give him $500,000.
And one half. All right. Thanks, Stanley. Appreciate that. So we should say you're facing Reggie Blunt and Hank Rogers in the August primary. We had Reggie Blunt on this program on July 17th. We're going to have Hank Rogers on August 5th. And those programs will be posted for people to watch on the First Coast Connect YouTube page. How do you differentiate yourself? You said you've met them before. You've been at some forums with them before. How do you differentiate yourself from them, and why do you think voters should choose you?
If you look at my background, and you were talking about the discrepancies within the district, I really want to make sure I bring this home. I have attended funerals. I have attended court trials. I have attended parent-teacher conferences for parents who said, look, you have a way of communicating with this teacher better than I can. Dr. Nicks, will you please go and speak on his behalf? Or Pastor Nicks, will you please go and speak on my child's behalf? Parents trust me with their children. I'm a girl dad. I don't just trust everybody with my children. So I want to make sure all of our babies have hope, regardless of what side of town that they live on, regardless of their ethnic background or their economic status. I will fight for every child, every student, and every school in Duval County Public Schools, from the north side to the south side, to the east side, to the west side, to Baldwin, to the Ponte Vedra, to the beaches. All of our schools and all of our babies deserve a standard of excellence. When it comes to my opponents, I understand one of them has a spectacular military career and even has experience as a college professor. But I bring experience as a campus director, meaning that I've actually ran a college campus with Strayer University. I know what it's like to talk about scalability. I know what it's like to talk about budgets. I know what it's like to talk about retention and recruitment. And with the skill sets that I believe that I have, it's going to benefit not only the district, but it's also going to benefit our local community. And then with another one of my opponents, they have a history and a tenure in a state legislator in a non-elected position. And I'm not knocking anyone that works as an aide, but what I'm saying is that when it comes to time to make decisions, you want someone that has executive experience. And that's what I bring to the school board, to School Board District 5. And when I knock on the doors in Avondale, when I knock on the doors in Murray Hill, when I knock on the doors in Ortega, when I knock on the doors on the east side, when I knock on doors in Springfield, when I knock on doors in Durkeeville, when I knock on doors in Grand Park, the question is, are you an independent thinker? Do you have a backbone? Do you have a vision for our youth? And do you have fire in the belly? That's what I bring to the table, and that's what I bring every single day.
If you have questions for Dr. Nahshon Nicks, he is running for Duval County School Board District 5, and you can reach us at 904-549-2937, or you can email First Coast Connect at wjct.org. Talking about making decisions, there's some major decisions that this school board, whoever is on it, is going to have to make over the next year and several months, really, in terms of school budget and school consolidation. There has been a proposed list of schools to close that they're debating right now, and several of those schools are actually in your district, in District 5, or what would be your district if you were elected. What is your position on school consolidations and school closures?
And my positionality is what I promise all of my constituents and all those that are listening, is that it may not be your school that's on the chopping block right now, but when your school is brought on that chopping block, I promise to be honest, open, and transparent. And I am the only candidate that has definitively said that I will fight to keep our local neighborhood public schools open. When we're at forums, will you fight to keep my school open? Will you? Definitively, I will fight to keep our local neighborhood public schools open. You should not be denied a high quality, high performing public education in Duval County Public Schools. I don't want, according to the Jacks Chamber, we have over 600 families that move to Jacksonville on a weekly basis. I don't want DCPS schools to be an afterthought. I want DCPS schools to be a forethought. Right there at the beginning, we're coming to Jacksonville because they have the best performing public schools in the nation. So, and that's what our current superintendent says. I want to hold his feet to the fire. I want to make sure that I can get the buy-in, because the power is in the people. And I share with all of my constituents, if we're able to keep this mobilization from election to throughout the budget, and the budget has not been proposed yet, but when elected, I will go line by line to see how we can compensate our teachers who are underpaid, to make sure that they have the resources pertaining to the paraprofessionals, as well as other supplies that they need to make sure that our children are getting a high quality, high standard education.
I want to ask you, because the school district here and all, really around the country, school districts have become very politicized, very difficult places, I think, for people to be sometimes. Sometimes they haven't felt like safe spaces. What can you do to either diffuse that level of animus and sometimes anger, or work with other people who may have very different views from you?
Thank you for asking that question. And when you talked about pastoring, I'm also a chaplain with over 1,000 hours in training pertaining to clinical psychotherapeutic counseling. Typically, you cannot relate to anybody until they've been able to completely amplify voice. Once they've been able to amplify voice and know that they've been heard, then we can go back in to see the areas that we both agree on to be able to move forward pertaining to conflict and resolution. And closing schools is not critical thinking. Closing schools is a matter of convenience. So when you start talking about politicizing, I do believe in spirited debate. But at the same time, there's got to be a common denominator that says, listen, we got to make sure that we're putting our children first. How are we setting our babies up for success? And we need all hands on deck to do it in Duval.
Tell me what your position is on books. That's been a major issue for the school board here and elsewhere, for people who are concerned about the content of literature that children are reading and seeking to have that material, put elsewhere or out of their reach.
Okay.
Just briefly.
Briefly, I'm going to say that pertaining to books, I don't believe in the book ban. I believe that as we open up genres and reading, we go past reading for testing and we go to reading for comprehension. And when you're able to be able to dissect different genres, then you're able to make an informed and educated decision.
Well, Dr. Nahshon Nicks, we really appreciate you coming on the program today. It's nice to meet you, and we look to stay in touch throughout the campaign.
I'm fired up. I'm excited. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And there is a JPEF candidate forum next week for District 5. You can find information on the JPEF website.